2019 was a decent year for film. While I didn't see every movie that I wanted to, I feel that now that I've seen enough to warrant a list. 2019 was kind of a weird year for me with film criticism and seeing new movies, so I felt like I hadn't seen enough really great movies up until now. Now that I've seen enough great movies, I feel like it's time to put out my list of the top 10, or my top 10, favorite movies of 2019. Before we get into that, let's get into my honorable mentions. Blinded by the Light was an extremely personal and touching movie. Shazam was a breath of fresh air for the DCEU. It Chapter 2 may have been slightly disappointing, but was still delivered on the laughs and scares. Fighting with My Family was a surprisingly great movie. And Spider-Man Far From Home was the last cut I had to make for this list. And with my honorable mentions out of the way, let's get into the list. Kicking off this list is probably the most controversial film of last year. While it received tons of praise from fans of the character, many bashed it for allegedly glorifying a murderer. To me, those people completely missed the mark on this movie. Not only is it a deep dive in the psyche of a complex character, but it serves as a cautionary tale of how the neglect of someone's mental illness could lead to severe consequences. With all that aside, however, this movie tells an interesting story, has one of the best performances in any comic book movie from Joaquin Phoenix, and is very well directed, especially considering Todd Phillips' other work. This is one of the most compelling and unique comic book movies ever made, and while I don't love every single second of it, it does just enough right really to make it onto this list. Coming in at the number 9 spot is a film that I don't plan on rewatching a whole bunch. While it may seem like an insult, it's actually one of the film's strong suits. The movie drove my anxiety levels up to 11 and never let off the gas pedal. Characters constantly talking over each other, the dumb decisions made by the main character, the way the movie is edited, everything about this movie is meant to tear apart your nerves, and it excels at it so well. Not only that, the performance from Adam Sandler is right behind the Meyerowitz stories for his best of all time. He disappears in this character and doesn't even seem like he's acting. He also makes the character more endearing than he really should be. This guy is a scumbag, but Adam Sandler gives him the charisma to the point where he's sympathetic. Uncut Gems is yet another great movie from the Safdie brothers and showcases how talented of an actor Adam Sandler can be when given the right role. It's tense, gripping, and one of the best movies of 2019. This is a movie that grew on me immensely. When it first came out, rumors of it being better than Superbad and stuff like that kind of got to me. I had it out for this movie from the very start. However, when I revisited it, I realized just how great of a movie it was. Does it borrow the plot of Superbad? Yes. Is it as good as that movie? Not even close. Can the modern dialogue sometimes get on my nerves? Also yes. But with all that aside, this is a great movie. Surprisingly interesting direction from Olivia Wilde, most of the hilarious script, and the genuine friendship between the two main characters are all great. In fact, besides some of the cringier dialogue, this is a direction I would want to see more teen comedies go in. Likable characters, an interesting yet still raunchy and hilarious story, and genuine teenage relationships being portrayed here. While I don't think anything will ever beat out Superbad for me, Booksmart is certainly a new favorite of mine in terms of teen comedies. Next up is Jordan Peele's sophomore feature-length, Us. This might have been my most anticipated movie of 2019, aside from Endgame, and that was pretty much all because of Get Out. In just his first film, Jordan Peele made one of the best movies of the decade, so expectations for his next film, at least for me, were pretty high. And if it didn't quite live up to the quality of Get Out, Us was a twisted and unique take on the home invasion subgenre. It was surreal, well-directed, and even at times hilarious, and proved to pretty much everyone that Peele wasn't just a one-hit wonder. This movie delivered on everything I wanted from it, and really left me wanting more in the best kind of way. To me, Rian Johnson is one of the most underrated directors currently working. Setting aside Star Wars The Last Jedi, he had made 3 extremely well-written and unique films that deserve a lot more praise than they get. Knives Out was yet another smartly written film under his belt, but with this time one of the best ensemble casts we've seen in a very long time, each actor fleshing out their unique characters in a way that is truly captivating. Everyone from Chris Evans to Ana de Armas give incredible performances. Not only that, but the wholly original mystery was filled with just the right amount of tension, intrigue, and twists. Knives Out was a clever, well-written, superbly acted movie that once again proves how talented of a filmmaker Rian Johnson is when he's not tied down by the weight of a franchise. The culmination of 21 movies and 11 years of build-up. Avengers Endgame truly is one of the greatest triumphs in the superhero genre, not only balancing so many characters and plot points so effortlessly, but giving a fitting conclusion to the pop culture icons of the 2010s. Well, it does sad me that we will never get to see another Iron Man or Captain America movie ever again. The quality of this movie more than makes up for it. The direction, the performances, the emotionally impactful moments, this movie does them all so well. While I may prefer Infinity War, there's a case to be made that this is a better film. Hulk is much better, the direction is sharper, the final battle is one of the best in film history. Endgame is truly a landmark film and will go down as one of the best superhero movies of all time. Now, one of my favorite genres of all time is gangster movies. Something about their world and how it operates has always fascinated me. So naturally, I latched on to Martin Scorsese's movies almost instantly from my first watch through of Goodfellas. So when I heard Scorsese was returning to the genre with this film, I was more than overjoyed. And The Irishman was an absolute home run. Not only is it constantly entertaining and one of the most watchable 3-hour-long movies, it was a more introspective and mature take on the genre, reflecting of times past and how far along the main character played by Robert De Niro has come throughout his life. Scorsese's got everything just right in this movie, and it's one of my personal favorites of his now. Even if it's not as flashy, The Irishman is the gangster movie that Scorsese needed to make at this point in his career, and shows that he is still capable of making great movies. While I do understand why some may take issue with this movie, to me, Tarantino really made something special. Reflecting back on older cinema and Hollywood without overly romanticizing it, like so many other filmmakers have already. This is an honest look back into the past, even though it changes history. I can do an entire deep dive into this movie, but others have already done so and pretty much said what I would have already said. However, I will say that it is a hilarious, extremely well written / directed movie that is home to some of the best performances of the decade. Brad Pitt and Leo DiCaprio just killed it here. All three of this list were really hard to decide, and all of them in a lesser year would have been my favorite. But unfortunately, I can only put one of my favorite Tarantino movies and movies of the decade at number 3. Just barely edging out Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is one of the most heartbreakingly realistic movies I've ever seen. Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson give the performances of their careers in this movie, truly showing the tragedy that is divorce. The writing, direction, and story are all perfection. This movie is immaculate, truly one of the most heartbreakingly real movies I've ever seen. And the incredible performances given here just elevate it to even greater heights. It's an extremely tough call not putting this movie at number 1, but one other movie just captivated me slightly more. No other movie from 2019 had me astounded from start to finish like Ad Astra, one of the most visually compelling, subtle, and almost beautiful movies I've ever seen. I was absolutely amazed during pretty much every frame. Well, it could have been a generic action thriller, it turned out to be so much more. This movie is truly incredible and possibly one of my favorites of all time. Definitely in the top 5 of the decade. I could go on and on and on and on about this movie, but just know how incredible it is. It's fantastic. And that's my list. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I would love to hear what were your favorites of 2019, and what were some great ones that I missed.